Hi class. So in this video, we're gonna start talking about Chapter 4, Exchange Rate Determination. We're gonna discuss how exchange rate movements are measured. Okay, so we introduced different ways of showing the relation between different currencies in the last chapter, chapter 3, right? We introduced direct and indirect exchange rate. We've also discussed about cross exchange rate. So here we're gonna see how these exchange rates could move and how the equilibrium exchange rate is determined and what are the factors that could uh, um, influence the exchange rates or equilibrium exchange rate, how um, and how the movements in cross exchange rates are like. Again, finally, we'll discuss how financial institutions attempt to capitalize on anticipated exchange rate movements. Okay, so let's first look at how we can measure exchange rate movement. So there are two directions of the move. It could be depreciation or appreciation. Depreciation means there's a decline in currency's value. Appreciation means there's an increase in the currency's value. We can compare foreign currency spot rates over 2 points in time, and we can show them as S, the exchange rate, the current exchange rate, or the exchange rate at time t, and as t minus 1, the exchange rate 1 period ahead. Okay, it could be 1 year ahead or 1 month ahead. And the percentage change, okay, we use delta to indicate the change here. The percent delta or percentage change in foreign currency value could be calculated as spot exchange rate S minus the spot exchange rate 1 period ahead, T minus 1, divided by ST minus 1, the spot the spot rate 1 period ahead. If we have a positive percentage change, it means that the currency has appreciated. Okay, a positive percentage change here would mean that S is larger than ST minus 1. So this is an increase in the spot rate or appreciation in the currency. If we see a negative percentage change here, it means depreciation. Okay, it would mean that S is smaller than ST minus 1, meaning depreciation in the currency. Let's look at this graph as an example of how exchange rate movements and volatility are measured. So we can see in the first column, we have time January 1st, February 1st, and each first day of each month. And in the second column, we have value of Canadian dollar, okay, and this is direct exchange rate here. This is the value of Canadian dollars in US dollars. Okay, so we can see that on January 1st, 1 Canadian dollar is worth 0.7 US dollar. And then as time goes by, it increases and then decreases after March 1st. And the monthly percentage change in Canadian dollar could be calculated using the formula on the last slide, right? We can use the, for example, on February 1st, we can use S minus ST minus 1 over ST minus 1 to calculate the percentage change. So we could use 0.71 here minus 0.7 divided by 0.7. So we have this positive 1.43% here, meaning our Canadian dollar has appreciated okay, the value of Canadian dollar increased in the first month. So the percentage change here is positive. And then from February 1st to March 1st, the percentage change is 0.703 minus 0.71 divided by 0.71. So we see a negative change here, negative 0.99%. The value of Canadian dollar decreased in the second month. Okay, and so on and so forth. You could try to calculate the next few rows here. We can see the percentage change could be calculated. And in the last row, we see standard deviation of monthly changes as 1.04% as the volatility of this currency. Okay, and I hope you still remember the way to calculate standard deviation here. So we can use the each percentage change minus the mean of the percentage change. Okay, and square each difference, add them up, divide by the number of months here, square root, so we can have the standard deviation. Okay, and then in the fourth column here, we see value of euro. Okay, and in the last column, we see the monthly percentage change in euro. For example, in the first month, we can use 1.16 minus 1.18 divided by 1.18. So we have negative 1.69%. The euro declined or depreciated in value. Okay, and you can calculate the percent change for different months and then calculate the standard deviation. So we see the volatility of euro is higher than the volatility than Canadian dollar in the first half year. Practice. The value of the Australian dollars today is 0.83 US dollar. Yesterday, the value of Australian dollar was 0.79 US dollar. Australian dollar by how much percent? Let me know which one you would choose. Do the calculation. Okay, please write the numbers down, do the calculation yourself, and if you need more time, you can always pause the video. If you're ready, let's look at the answer together. Okay, so the C option here is the right option. The Australian dollar appreciated by 5.06%. Okay, we can obviously tell the value of Australian dollar appreciated because yesterday it was worth $0.79 US dollar. Today it's worth 0.83 US dollars. So obviously the worth in US dollar increased. So Australian dollar appreciated. Another way to tell the appreciation is to calculate the percentage change in Australian dollar, which is S minus ST minus 1 over ST minus 1. So we can use the value today, 0.83 minus value yesterday, 0.79 divided by value yesterday, 0.79. So we can have 5.06% as the percentage change rate, and it's a positive number, so we can also tell from the sign here that it's appreciated. Next question. The value of euro was 1.3 last week. During last week, the euro depreciated by 5%. What is the value of the euro today? Okay, so it depreciated. How we can calculate this? I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, try to work on this yourself. Again, if you're ready, you can resume the video. If not, you can pause the video. Okay, let's look at the answer here. The value of euro today should be 1.235 here, option B. We can use the euro value last week, 1.3, multiply by 1 minus 5%, okay, or 0.05, okay, because the value depreciated by 5%. Exchange rate equilibrium. The exchange rate represents the price of a currency or the rate at which one currency can be exchanged for another. Demand for a currency increases when the value of the currency decreases, leading to a downward sloping demand schedule. Supply of a currency increases when the value of the currency increases, leading to an upward sloping supply schedule. Equilibrium equates the quantity of pounds demanded with the supply of pounds for sale. In liquid spot markets, exchanges are not highly sensitive to large currency transactions. Okay, how can we understand this? So for exchange rates, we can just treat it as the price of a currency. Okay, and in your economics class, you've already learned the supply and demand equilibrium, right? When we are not talking about currency, when we're just talking about commercial goods, say the price of an apple, the price of a pair of shoes, right? The price of any goods could be determined by the demand and supply for this goods in the market, right? And then for the two lines, there's a cross point where the equilibrium price and quantity is reached, right? So here we can just apply what we've learned in our economics class to the case of foreign currency or currency in general. We can just treat the currency as an apple, as a goods, right? And then the demand and supply in the market will together determine the price of this currency. Okay, and also just like demand and supply theory, when the value of the currency decreases, okay, it means the currency becomes cheaper. So that's why the demand for the currency will increase. Okay, just like when an apple becomes cheaper, the demand for an apple will increase. Okay, this will lead to a downward sloping demand curve. Okay, and also we've already learned if it's a demand curve or demand schedule for an apple, it's also downward sloping, right? If we look at this graph here, okay, graph 4.2, demand schedule for British pound. Okay, this could be a demand curve for any currency or any goods. On our x-axis is the quantity of British pound. On our y-axis is the value of pound or price of the pound. Okay, so just similar to any goods such as apple, when the value decreases, the quantity increases. Okay, so value and quantity go in different direction. That's why we have a downward sloping curve here as our demand curve. And this exists for most goods. When they are cheaper, there is a larger quantity for them. Okay, this is for currency and most goods. There are special cases such as, say luxury goods, but that's not in our discussion here. Okay, this is demand curve. And then for supply curve, we see that when the value of the currency increases, okay, supply of a currency will increase. Okay, so for supply curve, it's upward sloping, right? When the value of the currency increases, when the product is more expensive, then suppliers are more willing to produce this product because they can make more money, right, by selling the product, so the supply will increase, right? Just like an apple, when the value of the apple increases, supply of the apple should increase, right? More people would want to grow apple and sell it. So this principle also applies to our currency. And for example, here in graph 4.3, we see the supply schedule for British pound or any currency is upward sloping. Okay, again, when x-axis shows quantity and y-axis shows value. So when quantity increases, value increases, or vice versa, value increases, quantity increases. Okay, so when we put these two curves or two schedules on the same graph, the demand curve is this blue line here, which is downward sloping. Supply curve is upward sloping, right? So whenever you increase the price of British pound, demand would go down because it's more expensive, but supply go up also because it's more expensive. Okay, this applies to pound, applies to apple. So this supply and demand cross point is our equilibrium price. That's the price of British pound you'll see in the market. Here it's 1.55 US dollar. Okay, and this is why we say equilibrium equates the quantity of pounds demanded with the supply of pounds for sale. When the quantity and when the demand quantity or demanded quantity equals the supply, that's the equilibrium value. And in liquid spot markets, exchange rates are not highly sensitive to large currency transactions. Okay, so when our information is fully efficient, when the market is very liquid, we already have equilibrium price in the market. So even when large transactions occur, it wouldn't affect the price much. Okay, it would just, the price would be just be not as volatile, will be somewhat stable at this equilibrium value. Practice. The equilibrium exchange rate of pounds is 1.7 US dollar and an exchange rate of 1.72 per pound. US demand for pounds would the supply of pounds for sale, and there would be of pounds in the foreign exchange market. Think about it. Just treat the pounds as a standard product, such as Apple, that you learned in your economics class, and this just treat the exchange rates as the price of the product. And any theory here we're using will be similar to what you've already used in your economics or other finance classes. Think about this question. Let me know which one you would choose. You could resume the video when you're ready. If you're ready, let's look at the answer here. Right, the right answer here is less than and surplus. Okay, so we know that when it reaches equilibrium, the demand for pounds should be the same as supply of pounds, right, in the market at the intersection point of the demand and supply curve, right? And that point is 1.7 US dollar. So when the exchange price is 1.72 per pound instead, which is higher than the equilibrium exchange rate, it means that the demand for pounds would be lower, right, compared to the equilibrium points, because the price is high now, it's too expensive, so the demand decreases. But when price goes up, what happens to supply? Will it go up? Yes. The supply will go up, the demand will go down. Okay, so the demand would, instead of be equal to supply, demand would be less than the supply at this price. Okay, so there would be, when there is less demand and more supply, there would be surplus in the market. Okay, so if you want to show this question on our on this graph here, if this question is telling us that the equilibrium point is 1.7 instead of 1.55 here. Now our price goes up to 1.72. So the quantity in demand goes down, okay, and the quantity in supply goes up. Okay, and at this level, when supply is higher than demand, there's a surplus in the market. Okay. Another question: if a currency spot market rate is its exchange rate is likely to be to a single large purchase or sale transaction, which one should we go for? Option C, okay. When the market is illiquid, then the exchange rate could be highly sensitive to any single transaction, okay? Because we said when the market is liquid, then it's not highly sensitive, okay? It's only when the market is not liquid, it will become very sensitive to single transaction. It's going to be volatile, more volatile, because the information is not too efficiently transferred between counterparties in the market. Another practice: the exchange rates of smaller countries are very stable because the market for their currency is very liquid. Is this true? No, it's not. Okay, usually in smaller countries, their currency market is not as liquid and their exchange rates are not as stable. Okay, it's on the contrary, those large countries such as United States or Canada, their exchange rates are much more stable than other smaller countries.